Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Happy Friday, Mike.
Happy Friday, Phil, and everybody else out there listening. Excited again, as usual, to be here. Can't wait to get right into it. So give me what you got, Phil, because I know you got something.
Well, I want to start off with something personal, Mike, and I just want to see if you align with me on this or not.
Okay.
You know, I've spoken often about one of the things I love to do when I'm home is on a Saturday, make a pot of coffee. And then I just enjoy watching all the different content creators around the world doing their thing, traveling.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm seeing now is everywhere I look now in the overland and van life space, the content has flipped. It's no longer sunsets and freedom. It's lost everything. Van life was a mistake. Selling my truck ruined me. I've got truck problems. And on top of that, everyone now seems to have a horror story. Someone knocking on their window in the middle of the night. Some terrifying encounter in a supposedly remote place, or like I said, mechanical problems. It almost feels like a competition for who has the worst, scariest story. So Mike, has overlanding grown so much that it's absorbed people living in vehicles out of necessity? And has that shift driven both the darker tone and this escalation of fear-based content?
Well, okay. Let me break this down into a few things. First off, I don't think overlanding and van life is growing. I think it's fairly stagnant, and I think post, 9/11, not 9/11. Holy crap! Whoa, not 9/11. It's COVID. Almost the same thing. Anyways, the post-COVID era, we saw obviously a huge uptick, right? And you got a lot of people got into it. I don't think there's growth in that. So no, I don't think you're seeing more negative because there's more people. I hate to say this out loud, and I do believe, because like you, I spend a fair amount of time watching primarily YouTube of content creators that are in overland, van life, even boating, in general in adventure travel space. And I have noticed the exact same thing, regardless of whether or not it's what I'm going to call more diehard overlanders that are going around the world, or weekend warriors that are, working on vehicles, or just, camping for a week, let's say, or even like, some of my sailing buddies, or sailing channels that I watch, where they're selling their boats. Their boat broke down. The thing caught on fire, or whatever. So I think, I'll be wondering if you agree with this, but I think it has more to do with tonality in relationship to, say, reality television. I think it's myself included, over the last couple years, YouTube revenue has gone down. Okay. And that's happened for a number of reasons. Primarily it's gone down because advertising rates in general just went down. It's not so much that your views went down. It's that the amount that the advertisers are paying for the ads is less. So I think that these content creators are looking for new ways to recoup some of the money that they're lost. So they're trying to get that many more views. And the way to do it is, and I'm not going to, maybe I should, I don't know. I was going to mention names, but I can name some big content creators that you and I have actually hung out with, a few of them, that in the past month have had things from vehicle accidents.
Yes.
I've seen, there's been a couple, I won't mention names either, in more in the woman van space, where they've got the knocks on the door, or people
I know who you're talking
they thought
about.
were stalking. Yeah, you probably know who I'm talking about. All these people. And I've noticed it too. I think there's just been a lot more negative videos, but my theory is that it's because it gets more views. Not so much that let's put it this way. I think in the beginning, when everybody was sitting back in COVID world at home and locked in their basement, they were dreaming of being a van lifer and being able to go out on the road and look at beautiful scenic vistas with no people around and all this stuff. And the whole idea of that lifestyle was so glitzy and glamorous. And then we've probably run our course on that. And by the way, it never was. And it's not less so now either, by the way. It's not like it got worse now. It's the same as it always has been. But now
Most
the focus
of
is
core
shifted.
People that I know that travel still travel.
The core people, yes. Yes. Well, and the only reason I'm hesitating is because some of the people that I follow that are, I would consider to be bigger YouTubers that I know have shifted it up. Not only have they shifted it up some in their tone, but many of them are not on the road as much. They're doing alternate things. They, well, I'll give you an example. I can mention his name. Now, of course, I've just slipped right off my mind. As soon as I want to mention somebody, we interviewed him at ex Overland Ranch in the kitchen. Oh God.
Oh, wow! I can't believe.
You can't remember either.
I can't believe it. He's like one of the biggest dudes.
Well, and I'm just drawing I watch his stuff all the time. So why I can't even remember his channel right this second.
Yeah, listeners, do not get this twisted. We are fans.
Yeah, but the problem is
living the van life, but it's not. It's
no, that's Chad, and he comes down and visits me. Story till now. So yeah, the story. If you follow his channel, he was largely truck based, and now all of a sudden he bought a Sherp. I don't know if you know what those things are. They're the 4-wheel big Russian looking. I think they're made in Ukraine actually. Things that can float in water and everything, and he's been doing that. So I find that a lot of these creators, and by the way, he teamed up a bunch of times with Brad from Trail Recon, right? So there was a bunch of collaborate. So I guess my point is everybody is doing some different things. And by the way, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. However, I'm not throwing these guys under the bus because I really haven't seen the negativity out of those. But there's been some other people that have definitely. There's another very famous overlander that has had some trials and tribulations, just say, that have been pretty public. And yeah, it's starting to script very similarly to a reality TV show.
So, Mike, I think it's what you said, and it's three things together. It's what you said, and it is that, okay, and this came from the COVID era. There are a lot of people who got into the van life overlanding during the COVID era as an economic relief system. It was a solution to their financial problems, or maybe not a problem, but it was the solution to their finances.
Agreed.
And it didn't work out.
Yep.
So I'm hearing a lot of stories like where so there's that. And then there are.
Well, you're talking about the clickbait side of it. So you look at the thumbnails of the YouTube videos and it says, terrible choice in choosing this van, or I thought this was going to happen and it didn't, or those kind of like really catchy, clicky things.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that.
The real van life, or the van life no one tells you about.
Right. The top 5 things that make my day terrible every day when I'm on the road. That's I see a lot of it.
And the third one I think is there is a homeless community that we don't call homeless because they live in a vehicle.
Right.
But that is the sum total of their options. And those people are not doing it they're not in their vehicle as a hobby. You can have a person living full time as a hobby, and you can have a
Yep.
person living full time as necessity. And
Yep.
I believe those two things are merging. And because of that, it was seen that, oh, when I tell you these miserable stories, people click. So now you have people who don't really have no issues. Because I literally question some of the car breakdowns of some of the people I know, because I know how well they maintain their vehicles and how much they know about their vehicles. I I question some of the people about the knocks in the middle of the night because I know about their security systems, their cameras, their guns, their dogs. So I believe there's some people that are just jumping on the bandwagon of, oh, people like this stuff.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, people do like that stuff, right? You know, so I could tell you even personally, some of the videos that I have put out over the past bunch of years that involve something bad get immediately more clicks. So I got my truck stuck in Baja. That got, you know, just a ton of traffic because it was titled "Stuck in, Baja" or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think I did one last when I was doing my series on building out my shipping container. I titled one of them, I forget what happened, big mistake or something like that, and that got more clicks immediately. We had a water tank that got delivered and it broke, and I mean it was a bad mistake, but still, I think if I titled it something like it's just wonderful life inside of a shipping container, it wouldn't get the views.
And this also connects to something we've been talking about for months now. There is a majority now of people who seem to be against the system. And I mean it in the sense now of anybody doing well, anybody happy, anybody living a good life. It's like people are against anything like that.
Right.
They feel like if you can pay your bills, you're part of the 1%.
Right. Yep. Oh, trust me, I get so much negative feedback online about, how do you afford this? Or how could you have such a big truck? It must cost a fortune. Or, oh, it must be nice that you live on the beach, and all this stuff. Yeah. So, no, you don't know what is on behind the scenes, right? Ever for anybody. But at the same time, it's everybody wants to rain on anybody's parade that they view as either successful or even positive. Forget about successful. Even if you give a positive vibe or a positive aura, right now in our current day climate, that's something to be attacked.
I agree. All right, Mike, before we go anywhere else, I want to address some feedback that I got from the past week and what's going on. Okay. So, Democrats, they want Americans outraged over a Trump post portraying the Obamas as gorillas. Did you see that?
I did see the post, yes. And by the way, there's a lot more in that post than just that. There's a whole mess of people that are being parodied.
But let's talk about who's demanding that outrage. This is the same party that founded the Ku Klux Klan, opposed the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. And in 1964, they saw almost all Republicans back the Civil Rights Act, while very few Democrats did. And the filibuster became famous because the Southern Democrats filibustered to prevent the Civil Rights Act. Fast forward to now, you have Joe Biden. He opposed busing. He wrote the 1994 crime bill. He praised segregationist Strom Thurmond. He praised former Klan recruiter Robert Byrd, and literally told voters, "You're not black if you don't vote for me." Hillary Clinton pandered with the hot sauce comment after calling young black men super predators. Bill Clinton signed the crime bill. He signed the welfare reform, and he played the sax for us on a black talk show. Most segregationists, this is the key point here, because people like to say, well, that was back in the past and there was this switch. Well, there wasn't a switch in bodies. Those people remained in the Republican Party, and those people remained in the Democratic Party. So there was no switch. Most segregationists never switched parties. Jim Crow fell, the South realigned for cultural reasons, and now this party wants to lecture Black Americans about moral outrage over imagery. Mike, how is that anything other than pure political hypocrisy?
Well, I mean, it is for sure. I mean, I don't disagree with what you just said. The problem is, so this video that he reposted, by the way, because he's not creative enough. I mean, he didn't make the video. Mm-hmm. Is I'm going to call it. I would call it not super sensitive. I mean, it wasn't a great. I mean, I don't like seeing it myself, to be honest with you. However,
so stick to that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But here's the thing: is so Trump is, and you know, and I know I get the Trump lovers to hate me again, but he's not that bright. I think he just fucking reposts a bunch of shit a lot and doesn't think about it, doesn't think it through. And as long as he doesn't like the people, which clearly he didn't like anybody that was in that being parodied, I don't think he thinks about. Trump acts without consequences is the problem, right? And that sadly is, I mean, it's one of the reasons why we're where we are today. And we've talked about this on the podcast, is like, this is a countrywide issue.
Mm-hmm. So this is my take, Mike. I don't care if he posted it or someone else posted it. We are being hypocrites right now if we don't, because we have in recent podcasts discussed that it don't matter if you actually did it, and that at a certain level you never are the actual person who's done anything. So
that's true.
So that's not how we make this judgment. He's the president. Someone working under him did it, so he did it. So yeah. I'm not giving him no slack on that at all.
Well, he does. That's not the only thing he does. I mean, he does. I would describe almost everything he does as non-presidential and and we're going to talk about this a little bit later when he was talking about the halftime at the Super Bowl. But all his comments are not indicative of somebody that is trying to represent everyone.
And that's where I was headed, because I always just like to look at things like, okay, what if it was me? And this is one of those things I was like, Mike, if I get into an argument with somebody of another race and there's hatred there and there's true animosity, I may pull out some slurs. Mm-hmm. That does not actually mean that I have those feelings about that particular race. It's that I don't like this person and I want to say the thing that hurts him most. Mm-hmm. However, just like all people who would do what I just said, they don't do it on their job. They don't do it in front of their mother. They still understand that even though I really don't mean this, it's inappropriate for me to say it in this venue. So even though I understand the idea of all bets are off in love and war, you are representing the American people, and there is a level of decorum that I expect, and I think a majority of Americans expect, and he rarely meets the minimum of decorum.
Rarely, how about ever? He never does. And that's a real problem. That clearly is one of the issues that leads to all these other issues that we talk about.
So this is one of these topics where if somebody saw the headline, they're going to click on it and hear all of the things that I said bad about the Democrats. But they're not going to hear the end part where I'm like, I'm against what he said. I ain't for it. I'm not allowing him any leeway out of the blame or whatever. This is another one of those examples of where I'll never get no job on CNN or nothing like that, because they want me to either pick one or the other. Yeah. And my thing is, I don't like what he did, but you're just as bad or worse. So how are you the person that's trying to get me riled up about it? I might need to be riled up about it, but you're the wrong messenger. Mm-hmm. You are guilty of more. I just listed, and bro, it blows my mind how Democrats just totally ignore all of that stuff I just said. But they've been emailing me all week asking me to address this one little thing about a cartoon that don't affect me at all. And like I said, I don't like it, and I ain't giving them no slack on it. So,
yeah, I mean that's the problem. Is we've talked about this. Both parties are equally hypocritical, and we got into it last week a lot, and I want to very quickly address that. I mean, we got into the fact that we tend to try to show facts down the middle of the road and criticize or reward both or either side, and that has led to. I got a bunch of messages this week concerning our safety and security, and do we ever consider changing what we talk about? Probably half of those people just listen to us talk about overlanding to start out the podcast and be like, oh, look, Mike and Phil listen to us. Oh, just hold your horses. Hang on for a second here. But no, we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. And what we're asking is that you listen more carefully.
Well, just for the listeners who don't know, because I didn't mention it, I brought up this whole topic specifically because I had viewers like, so Philip, you black. Now what now? What now? What you got to say? And I'm like, what? Wow.
Yeah. So next week we'll be getting messages that you're not defending yourself or some shit. You watch.
Right, because they only gonna hear the first half. They ain't gonna hear the second half. Or some people gonna hear the second half, and people don't listen to everything you say. They're so used to you being like either left, right, good, bad, right, or wrong. They listen to the first sentence, and usually they're right.
We're gonna change the name of the damn podcast to "Don't Be Left or Right," because I think that's been an ongoing theme, and maybe we didn't even realize this a couple years ago, but it's been an ongoing theme of ours is to try to, and like we said last week, we start out the podcast saying, come to your own conclusions, come to your own opinions. This is our opinion, but try to look at all sides to reach your opinion. Don't just listen to one talking point. And apparently that's not a popular idea, Phil. I mean, that's the problem.
Not at all.
We think it's a great idea, but
pick a side.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to pick a side. Not going to happen.
So, Mike, back in 2006, during the first Epstein investigation, FBI 302 documents report that Trump called Palm Beach police, thanked them for stopping Epstein, said everyone knew what Epstein was doing, said he left a situation where minors were present, and even called Ghislaine Maxwell evil, describing her as Epstein's operative and telling police to focus on her. So, Mike, if those FBI documents say that, why is Trump still framed as someone who protected Epstein instead of someone who flagged him early?
Well, okay, so this is a double-sided issue as well. I think he may have flagged him early, but at the same time, there's been a lot of covering up going on from both sides. I mean, there's also a headline out there right now that, the Clintons and the people that work for them were more connected than they previously admitted to. And now we hear about like more royal families in Europe, in Norway, and more stuff with Prince Andrew or whatever, and his ex-wife Fergie. I mean, you just more and more keeps coming out. But at the end of the day, every time more comes out, I don't feel I'm getting dumber. I don't feel like I'm learning anything.
I get it.
Can we just all admit, whether you're on the left or you're on the right, that I don't care how much information they release, we're never going to get a list that says this guy did this guy did that, or we're not going to get a movie, of two, 10-year-olds sitting on Bill Clinton's lap. We're not getting any of that. It's not happening. It would already came out. So I firmly believe that Epstein was in such high circles.
Yeah.
I'm not saying necessarily high regarded, but he traveled in high circles, as wealthy people tend to do. And, there was a lot of discussion about him possibly even having a connection as a spy or with the Israeli government or whatnot. I mean, all of this could be very true. He might have been an informant for the CIA, so there may be reasons why at one point or another, Trump has been trying to not put stuff out, or before him it was Biden or any of the other ones for that matter. It might have something to do with something that we simply do not know. They can't say anything. He was a CIA spy, or who knows? I don't know. I mean, the problem is doesn't ever seem to be any focus on the fact that, look, this guy was a pedo and he was a messed up personality. And they should focus on those actual crimes that were committed by whether it was by him or her or one of these other people, but not. The focus has become so big and broad that I just don't think anything with any huge revelation is ever coming out. So I don't know what to say. I wish we could move on, to be honest. I don't think it's helping anybody. And, I don't know. I just don't know. Was Trump clean on the whole thing? No idea. Did he report him before? No idea. Maybe he did. Maybe he did because it was
FBI documents.
Yeah. So he must, but there must have been a reason. Yep. So there must have been, right. So at the time, Trump wasn't in the government, right? So he reported the guy. Now, if Epstein was in the government or was a spy or an informant or, who knows? They were using him to get to other guys. They buried it. So, yeah, to answer your question,
I think.
Why is Trump being I mean, I don't know. Well, because the 50% of the population hates him, regardless of what the facts are. You're allowed to hate him. You're just not allowed to make up your own facts.
So, Mike, have you been keeping up with this Nancy Guthrie thing?
I actually have, because, well, I got to tell you, this is, first of all, this is going to be a Netflix movie, which we're going to be reviewing at some later date here on the Random Waypoints podcast. Because if this doesn't become a movie, I don't know what's gonna. But it doesn't make sense. There's something there. This is another example, by the way, of something that we do not know that is not making sense here. Because this whole thing, when you wrap in her disappearance, her famous daughter who was a television anchor, and then you wrap in the fact that TMZ of all places is getting ransom notes, and then there's been ransom. Now there's been notes being passed over saying that they know who the person is, and then we get this whole Ring camera thing, which, by the way, I mean, if you ever stop and think about the process that happened, you should be scared shitless about what they know about you. So there's all sorts of things. What do I think happened? I mean, clearly she got kidnapped. Whether it was for a ransom or not, it would appear the FBI doesn't think that the ransom is valid, because I think they would have funded it, which they didn't do, or to our knowledge, they didn't do. So I don't know.
So here's what I think. I think that they don't think there was a ransom. I believe. Did you hear about that there was like $300 put in and taken out of that?
I did. Yep. They
I
were
believe.
testing it.
I believe. I believe they put that in there because if you have a Bitcoin account, if you sent me $200, my phone would give me a notification, and then
Yep.
what would I do? I'd immediately
You
go
look at it.
I believe that's what they were looking for. They were
Trying to
looking,
track it.
right.
Trying to track the phone. Yeah.
That's immediately what I thought. And when there was no response, now everything is, I believe they believe that it's someone in the family or someone surrounding the family now. And they are just trying to piece it together fully because she's in the media, how the story has been told so far. So they don't want to have to go back on anything if they pursue it. But I believe that the family is the primary target right now. And I would not be shocked if they actually did it because I'm curious about these things. I've studied the history of kidnappings and stuff. I've got the information right in front of me, and it's almost exclusively someone you know. It is a rare thing. So guys, if you're going to do a kidnapping, kidnap somebody you completely do not know, because if it's somebody you know, you're going to get caught.
I mean, see, you could come to the podcast here to get advice. I agree, Phil. I think it's somebody in the family, or if it wasn't a quote family member, it was a friend or a hired person. But I think it has something to do with the family, or it certainly seems that way, because it was interesting to note that even the neighbors, a couple of the neighbors, and even the guy that they took in for a little while, that appears to be ends up being a delivery driver of some kind, I think, that probably went to the house. None of them seemed to even know who the hell she was. So,
right.
I mean, they didn't even know. So how would you know? You know, they were asking for what, $6 million in I mean, how do they know that the family would have that? So I don't know.
Those social media posts that her daughter, I think it is, the one that's actually in the news.
Savannah Guthrie.
I don't get a good vibe from them.
No, you get a weird vibe. And that's what I'm trying to say. And you get an even weirder vibe from her sister. And yeah, I don't know. There's something that isn't adding up. Now, I heard they just found a glove. Whether it's tied to the crime or not, it looks like it is, because it looks like a black glove on the side of the road they found. So, I mean, they probably can get DNA off of that. And if I got to tell you right now, if they can get DNA off that glove, the FBI and the U.S., the government is smarter than you think they are. So they've already run the AI on the mask guy. They're getting way closer to figuring out what this guy looks like. Let's put it that way. And if they can figure out what it looks like, look, law enforcement is all about cross vectoring, right? So if you get a look here and a DNA here and a this over here, and he walked this way, I mean, eventually, I know there's 300 million people in America or whatever. They're going to figure out which one it is. I mean, it's just the way it works. So I don't know.
Like I said, if it were an actual kidnapper, or I should say, if it is an actual kidnapper or something like that, I think that he would have been caught already. That's why I think it's the family. And I think that they know it's the family, and I think they're tiptoeing around now. I just saw a few hours ago, they've got some kind of tent surrounding the house or something like that.
Yep. And now they just posted the backpack he's wearing is made by Ozark Trail. So they know the model, which at this point, once they know that, they could probably figure out everyone that was bought anywhere on a credit card or something, and within a radius of so and so. And they increased the reward to $100,000. That's more than likely in response to, they think that there's more people that are going to give them tips, or even possibly if the guy that wanted one Bitcoin, which by the way, one Bitcoin is trading at like, I don't know, $66,000 or something. So, now maybe they'll ask for 2 Bitcoins. I don't know. The whole thing, I'm telling you right now, there's something weird. There's just something weird about it.
So how do you feel about the ethics of that portion of it, the Bitcoin thing? Because everybody's attacking the guy that wants the Bitcoin for information and saying that he should have just gave it up or reported it to the police. What do you think, Mike?
I'm going to take the side that you might not believe. I actually think that I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And the reason I'm saying that, well, the reason I'm saying that is because they're now, okay, so it's $100,000 reward now. It was $50,000 before. So if I just go to the police station and say that you might not want to get involved like that. So you're going to give them the same information you would to get the reward, but you're going to stay anonymous. And, you know, not everybody wants to be on national television because that's what would happen.
Well, I'm on that side too, but for a different reason.
Okay.
Like I said, I kind of got some morbid thing. I kind of follow these things, Mike. And I don't know for sure. I haven't researched the actual statistics, but from my eye, a majority of the time people report and they don't get paid, even when there was a reward.
Yep.
I'm always hearing after the fact, the guy who turned him in he didn't get paid. They
argued it wasn't him or it was somebody else, or that the government actually was the ones that found him. It was the police. I agree. You are more guaranteed to get the money when it shows up in your Bitcoin account.
Right.
You stay anonymous and you move on and you give them the information. So I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, and I agree. There's a lot of people are like outraged. They're like, oh, he's just trying to make money on it. Why does he just collect the award and become a hero? Well, not everybody wants to be a hero.
And this may be this person's only chance to get a lick like that. This could change everything for a person. This might get him out of a factory and start his own business, or maybe he's 2 years away from retirement and now he can just go ahead and say, fuck it today.
Yep.
So
he also could be, and I don't mean this to be at all discriminatory or trying to put people in little buckets, but he might come from a community / or culture that is very leery of the police and very just mistrusting in general of the government, and doesn't, and like you said, doesn't believe he's going to get the reward, or they're not going to do everything that's being promised. And this is a way to stay out of that arena altogether.
And here's the killer with that reward thing. They'll always tell you about some missing detail that you didn't, or procedure you didn't follow to get the money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think they need to follow the same kind of strategy that NBA basketball teams do with those half-court shots.
Yep.
And that, like, sometimes a person stepped on the line, or they find out later he played in high school and the rules. But what do they end up doing every time? They end up paying the guy because they do not want to have people like, I don't, screw that.
Right.
If they really want people to report, they should be like, you know what? He did get the information. They did capture the guy due to this. Let's pay him. We want people to realize you're going to get paid.
Because you don't want, the last thing you want is the guy the poor guy that turns somebody in that is a hero, and then you get all this media presence, and then he feels like a complete loser if he starts trying to have to beg to get the money, to get the reward. You feel like a cheesy, so I get it.
And going with the thing which you said about certain cultures or whatever, there may be backlash after the fact of him being a snitch.
That's right. Yep.
So, Mike, you didn't watch my movie.
I did not. So we're going to talk about it next week.
So let's tell them what we're going to do next week.
We're going to watch a movie. Tell them, Phil.
Well, the movie is called Wag the Dog. So it came out in 1998. So if you haven't seen it, watch it this week. If you haven't already watched it, we're going to discuss it, and I don't want to give away too much. We're going to review it like a regular review, but it's going to be a retrospective review and overlaying the things that are in this movie versus what's going on in our culture today, and how the movie was viewed back then and how it looks now. And if you've watched the movie, you already know where I'm going with this. And if you watch the movie, you're going to be very interested in hearing what we got to say next week.
So stay tuned.
Mm-hmm. So what else has happened, Mike, that you want to talk about?
Well, I think one of the things that's on everybody's mind, at least maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm in Mexico, but there's been just enormous amount of chatter about the debacle. I don't want to call it the debacle, the halftime show at the Super Bowl last week. So I want to address that from and get ready, guys, because I'm going to address it the way I see fit. But I'm going to give you the disclosure in advance. So, in fairness, I watched the Super Bowl halftime show. I was actually at a bar here in Mexico, so I was surrounded with a fair amount of people. Number one, this is just full disclosure, that can speak Spanish better than I. Although I can understand some, not as much as a native speaker for sure. So that's one thing. Number two, full disclosure, I took the time out of my day the next day to watch the quote alternative Super Bowl halftime show that Turning Point USA put on. And in full disclosure, those of you out there probably know this, maybe. I am a quote country music fan. Okay, so some of the people that were in that show, Brantley Gilbert and what's her name, Brandy Carlisle, and a couple of the artists I like. Okay, so I have albums by them. Let's just put it that way. Kid Rock, who is quote the headliner. I think we all know a couple of his songs. Whatever, he is what it is. So that's just my disclosure period here. And one more disclosure. We listen to, I say we, myself and a couple friends that I live down here, we do listen to Bad Bunny. So I am familiar. I was familiar with Bad Bunny prior to the Super Bowl. I know, there's a discussion. A lot of people don't know who he is or whatever, certainly in an more English speaking community, possibly. Anyways, so that's all my disclosures. I watched the Super Bowl. I'm going to say this. I'll say this before Phil, because I don't know what Phil and I have not discussed this. In total fairness, we have not discussed this at all. So I have no idea what he's thinking. So I love that. So maybe we agree. Maybe we completely disagree. I watched the Super Bowl halftime show live. I got to tell you, in my opinion, it was one of the best halftime shows performances that I've ever seen. And I will qualify that. And the reason was because I thought there was, for somebody that watching on television, there was a lot of imagery and energy involved in the performance from particularly if you know anything about any kind of Puerto Rican culture or Latin culture. He went through sort of the walks of life as people are growing up. They had the wedding thing. They had, whatever surprises from Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin and et cetera, et cetera. So I thought it was actually well done. The fact that there were a lot of arguments of people saying it sucked. I hated it. I don't know what the hell they were saying. You didn't need to know how to. You did not need to understand Spanish to understand what was going on necessarily. And I will tell you from a couple of my friends down here that are very fluent in Spanish, they're like, we have no idea what the hell he's saying either. He's got such an accent. He's got using so much slang. Nobody knows. I mean, look, I can listen to American quote or we'll just call it English performers and not know what the hell they're saying. So I'm not sure that's an argument. I will say, let me just, before you go, Phil, I watched the Turning Point show as well. And although I like the artists, the show completely lacked any kind of energy whatsoever. It was pre-recorded. and it was almost like watching I don't know, Dancing with the Stars, so, you know, had kind of like the fake, not the fake, but you know, little fireworks coming up the side. I don't know. It was to me, it was cheesy as shit. And here's my controversial statement. I think if you took the time to go to your television set and change the channel to go to the Turning Point show, and then change it back to go back to the game, because you were, quote, boycotting or protesting a guy because he was, I mean, I don't know why you would do it other than he was brown, Puerto Rican, or speaking Spanish. It says more about you than it says about anything else. That's just my opinion. You know, there was nothing, quote, all-American about the all-American halftime other than the fact they were all white country rednecks. I don't know how else to say it. That is my best way of saying it. So that's my view on it. I got more views, but let me hear what Phil has to say. I'm super curious. His face is very inquisitive.
I was like, I don't want to give away anything in my face. Let me stay stone faced. So, man, I want to look at this in so many ways. First of all, I didn't watch the game. I don't watch the NFL. I don't support the NFL. However,
ditto, by the way, I forgot to mention that.
For this, even though I did watch the replays, and not only was I accurate, I called the game, Mike. It went just like what I said.
It did. Yeah, I was hoping you weren't going to bring that up. Now that you brought it up, I lost that bet. You were right.
Not just that they won exactly how I said.
Yep.
So with that said, anyway.
Damn it, I thought he was going to forget.
So the Bad Bunny, I need to bag up from Bad Bunny to talk about Bad Bunny.
Okay.
You know, for at least the past 15 years, I've been hearing a resounding complaint from a lot of Americans that they get tired of picking up the phone and having to choose one for English. And you go into places and there's different languages on the signs and all of that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
But that has nothing to do with music. And people are trying to string those two thought processes and ideologies together. There has been Julio Iglesias, there has been Selena, there has been Menudo, and I could go on and on and on.
Ricky Martin, it goes on and on.
Very famous Spanish, primarily speaking and singing performers that we love and have loved. Unless you're one of these people who is, as America, everything is English. That's something different. That's something different. That's something different. I want English to be the language spoken in my country, and I would like it to be the predominant representative at what is supposed to be called American events.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, he's from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. Their native tongue is Spanish. So I have zero issue with an American performing in America, singing his native American language in that territory. So that's just a non-issue for me. There's lots of Mexican music that I love. Back in my day, I used to love to salsa. I used to salsa maybe two nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a non-issue with me about him speaking Spanish. With that said, I did not like the Super Bowl show. And if you were to ask me, like, so which ones did you like? I don't like none of them. So like,
fair.
Michael Jackson is the one that people like to try to say is the best one.
Best. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Michael Jackson, but I don't think that was one of his great performances. Same thing with Prince and all the other people that you're saying. So I'm not even just saying, I have never seen a great Super Bowl performance, even if I thought the performer was a great performer.
Well,
So,
and it's hard because you're talking about a 10 to 15 minutes, I mean, and usually with special guests and other things, like it's just such a small sampling.
mhm. So that, and I watched the USA, what is it? What is it called?
It's, the Turning Point USA thing.
And I like country music. If it's good music, I like it. That was just, it was a yawner, bro.
Yeah, it was, dude. It started out with the national anthem on the guitar. That was terrible.
I was expecting more oomph, and
yeah, no oomph, no oomph.
I'm like, what is this? It was literally one of them put you to sleep performances.
Yep. Yep.
So I didn't like either one for different reasons.
Fair.
If you were just to watch the actual Super Bowl Bad Bunny and watch his performance, and you had the sound turned off, visually a beautiful thing.
See, I think that's what, Phil, you bring up a good point. I think that's why I liked it, because it was so different. Most halftime shows at the Super Bowls in the past have usually been something involving a big ass stage where, the main artist is there and then the guests are coming down, whether they're flying through the air or whatever. This was different in the fact of, first of all, there was so many damn people dressed up as trees and grass out there, piled around. And it was like, it had that little, the local, with the guys playing the checkers, and it looked like San Juan, Puerto Rico. So I liked the set. And I liked the way he kind of went around. I'm going to tell you one of the main reasons I think I liked his show. He basically, it was a big FU to the right wing and to Donald Trump in a sense, because he did it without being political. It wasn't political. It just simply wasn't. He just did it. He said, "God bless America" or whatever at the end. And he included, he named all the countries that are part of, by the way, it's called America, like the continent. So I liked that. I liked it was positive, outwardly positive from from that side of it, particularly after we've seen incidences, not from him or others, at the Grammys or the Oscars, or like make it, even last year, Kendrick Lamar, that was like that was like an internal fight that, you know what I mean, that was going on. It was all innuendos and whatever. So I think that I liked it. Now,
you mentioned one thing that I did not like. The thing that you said you liked,
which is
the emphasis on the continent.
Mm-hmm.
That's my problem. That was his political statement. You said,
well, but the NFL hired him to do that, Phil. Look, they're trying to expand. They want to expand. They're starting next year. They're doing games in Mexico City. They're trying to get a bigger audience.
Mike, you could have had a Mexican performer performing and speaking in English, and he didn't have to perform a FU performance as you just stated to Trump. It could have been an American performance. It could have been very, very respectful of other countries, but not trying to catapult them above or equal to or anything like that. And the way I'll close on that is, you would never see that in no other country. That leader would get executed.
Yeah, maybe. So, but let me give you the negatives. There's a couple negatives. One is, I know enough Spanish, and certainly the people that I was sitting at the bar with knew a lot of Spanish. Mm-hmm. This performance, if it was in English, would never have flown. So you got to wonder how the FCC does or doesn't do their job, because as much as I could say that it was a friendly, visually, nice cultural experience, the actual songs that he performs, which because I knew them before he did the Super Bowl, are really off color. Like what he's talking about is not for children, and not something that, like, if we were singing in English, they would have bleeped the shit out of it and shut it down. And you remember, we still have, 40 million Americans that speak Spanish or something like that. I mean, so there's a lot of people that know what he was saying. So that is kind of an issue. They didn't
close caption it. I had an issue with that too.
Well, they didn't close caption it because I think that's why. Because all you would have seen about was pussy and sticking my dick in, and all the rest of the stuff he was singing about. So I mean, let's put it this way: it was clear enough that even I, who are not a native Spanish speaker, understood enough to know what he was talking about. So that's probably no bueno. So that was an issue, and I think my real problem with this whole controversy, if you will, is that, once again, let's go to Donald Trump. I mean, he said, worst Super Bowl performance of all time. Didn't understand a word because it was in Spanish. Blah blah blah. We should focus on America. Blah blah blah. Well, okay. Once again, not uniting everybody that we represent. So, that wasn't a good look. I don't want my commander in chief, the guy that's supposed to have a bit of decorum, saying what he said. To me, it was just anti-Brown. Bottom line. And I got to tell you, that's how it came over here in Mexico, where people were like, Trump's a dick. We like Bad Bunny. So I don't know what to say, but the Turning Point thing, the argument, I love it. I love the spin that goes out too. Turning Point says, "Oh yeah, it was watched by so many people left. Give me a dude. More 3 times more people watched the Puppy Bowl than they watched the Turning Point thing." So, I mean,
but both of them are full of it, Mike, because they're both touted their numbers.
They did, and both of them made them up, by the way.
But they touted numbers of, okay, you all created all of this controversy. People are literally watching it after the fact so that Monday they can go to the water cooler and be part of the discussion.
Correct.
How many people actually watched during the Super Bowl?
No, because they're busy. They're eating. They're going to they're heating up their cheese. They're going to take a dump. They're doing all sorts of stuff that's going on, right? Or they're in a big group at a Super Bowl party. Everybody's talking. You can't hear what's going. You can't barely see what's going on. And that's why I said, in full disclosure, I was at a bar where there was not a single person speaking. Everybody was intently watching this performance, like it was we were at a concert. And that's the difference, I think, is that, like I said, a vast majority of people understood what he was saying, or at least tried to, because apparently, and I don't pick it up as much, but man, his accent, I guess, is super heavy.
And his sentiments were for them.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Yeah, so
he had a built-in fan base just off of sentiment.
Yep, and that's why I want to disclose that. But all in all, the whole thing highlights ugly America, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree.
Once again, I am one human being who can listen to Bad Bunny and follow it up by listening to country music, okay? I am capable of doing that, and more people should be able to do that.
If you go to certain country concerts, one of the guys is going to be singing country in Spanish. I've seen that before.
For sure. Yeah.
Like I said, that is a whistle, a dog whistle. The language.
Totally.
The language.
Yeah, because they don't mean to say we hate it because he's singing in Spanish. They mean to say we hate him because, in the case of a lot of this right wing, he's not an American. He's from, he's Puerto Rican. We don't like that. He's a brown guy. Right. That's what they're saying. Let's be clear.
Exactly. And like I said, Spanish music, my whole life, there has been Spanish songs that were hits on the radio.
Yes. So, take it from a white guy that grew up in New England. Spanish music is better than English music. Just, it's fact. And I didn't grow up in that.
Mike, did we cover everything?
God, I don't know. I'm sure we got ourselves in some kind of trouble. You know, I don't. If you guys have any opinion on the Super Bowl or halftime show or anything else that we've talked about for that matter today, send us a message and we'll talk about it next week.
And wait, if you're going to send a message about a segment, watch the whole segment.
Watch the whole thing. And by the way, if we failed to mention this the last time, and we want to be very conscious and careful about this. If you want us to read it verbatim, tell us that. Or, meaning, like, if you're okay with that, you can say, read it, don't use my name, read it, use my name, whatever you want to say, but we'll follow what you say. We are very hesitant about actually reading messages and emails if you don't tell us explicitly that you can say it, because nowadays the FBI will be on it and tracking it and determine who it was anyway. So we kind of beat around the bush sometimes. We say what you guys say, but we're paraphrasing. But if you're okay with us reading it as is, tell us that.
Good point. Anything else, Mike?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, this is a short one. We
Phil having some issues at his house with the internet. So we're recording a little later than we normally do.
And I wasn't able to prepare properly.
That's true. But you wouldn't notice that. He did great. What do you think? Send us a message. Let us know whether Phil did okay today or not.
All right, guys. You know what I'm going to say. Tread lightly, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.